Hey guys, this is Gemma from ASD Rocks. A lot of you know that I've been, well, everyone knows I've been in hospital, but a lot of people have been wondering why. And it's not until now that I've, I guess, come to terms and felt comfortable with letting everyone know. But I promised not only you guys but myself that this page was a page for everybody in the family, carers, grandparents, siblings, everyone in the family that has a family with autism in it. And while I made that promise, I also made the promise that it would not be a filtered Instagram portrayal of, hey, look how far we've come and look how well we're doing. That it was going to be truthful and raw at times, which, as you've seen from some of my posts on mental health, it has been. I have been. So I may as well just get straight down to it. Last Sunday, I was admitted into it's funny, it's hard to say. Last Sunday, I was admitted into a psychiatric hospital. And I really want to address what led up to that, because while I think, a lot of you guys out there who are watching this and aren't a part of the ASD rockers, and I call you guys my rock stars, and won't know or understand what they're watching here, I know that there's going to be some of you out there that are really gonna connect with this story on some level or another. My particular story, which I've told you bits and pieces of my history and my past, but I have never given the full account of my life. And I think that all of it contributes to where I have ended up. And actually, one of the things that I want to address when I've sort of told you about my experience in hospital at the Victoria Clinic, who were mostly phenomenal, I want to talk also about judgment, because at a couple of points I felt that some of the things that I've been through were not really taken into account or were misrepresented. So, okay, look, I didn't have a great childhood, unfortunately. It doesn't really matter who or anything like that, but there was physical, mental, sexual abuse at a very early age. When I was around about 10 years old, a man tried to abduct me off the street. I'd never seen or met him before. He just came and said he was my father and he wanted to take me home. Ended up at the police station anyway. Then, obviously, and I'm not putting the diagnosis of my son on the same trauma level as these events, but when I had Beau, you know, everything that had sort of happened in my past and whatnot, I just sort of, I buried myself so deeply in the world of autism. And, you know, because it was 17 years ago, we really didn't know. We didn't know what we know now. We didn't know anything. We knew Rain Man, that's it. And there wasn't, you know, support groups. There wasn't Facebook. My God, Facebook didn't exist when he was, I don't even think, until he was 3 or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So I really plowed into just, as you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of getting him the help he needed. And if that meant going into the speech therapy, learning to become a speech therapist and doing it at home, I did it. You've got the videos there, you've seen it. If it was occupational therapy, I went in there, learned to do it. I set up a room in the house so we could do OT at home. I was pregnant with Finn when Beau was diagnosed. Every minute that I wasn't doing something for Beau, I was putting into Finn to make sure that he really felt that, you know, I didn't want him to resent his brother for all of the time and the attention that he got. It was due to the circumstances of my family. My sister and I don't even talk. I don't even know where she is. I think she's left the country. So I really didn't want my kids to have the upbringing that I had. I was so intent on never allowing my kids to have the experiences that I had. I wanted them to have a mother that was there and present, that they could talk to, that was, you know, everything I am, as you said yesterday in the video of seeing them may come home. I wanted a father who I knew, I mean, my parents haven't spoken since I was 10. They split, and I wanted a father who I knew that no matter what we went through, whether it was, you know, a long life together or a divorce or not, that he would be there for his kids, and he would, you know, and that we could maintain a relationship that throughout the rest of our lives, that we could be on the same path to look after our children. This was before I even had kids. So I was very severely affected by the upbringing that I had. Luckily enough, I had my grandfather, who I majoritively lived with and raised me. But anyway, so then I plowed myself and have done for the last 17 years into, as you've seen, everything. And it doesn't stop, guys. It doesn't stop. And I have been so strong, and with all of you, and I've said, guys, you need to get therapy. Like, you know, this work we're doing, fighting for our kids, it's taxing, it's draining. You know, and it's never ending. I've been through 3 funding systems since Beau was diagnosed. I've been through FAXIA in the beginning. HCA took over, which was helping children with autism, took over from FAXIA, and then the NDIS. Now, I have never had trouble like I have had with the NDIS, and I do put down my breakdown, or whatever you want to call it. I do put a lot of it towards the last 4 years with the NDIS, because when you wake up and go to bed fighting, eventually you just don't want to wake up. It got to the point, and while I was in hospital, I was watching back videos because I didn't want to post from hospital. So I was looking at a lot of old footage, and I was watching it like, around 4 years ago, around 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, yeah. I was like, wow, I look really good. Like, look at me. I've done my hair. I've done, I'm dressed. I'm this, I'm that. And I got to tell you, the last year, I mean, if you even take a look at just the last sort of 6 months of posts, I mean, there weren't even just days I wasn't getting out of bed. There were weeks I wasn't getting out of bed. I was still fighting my ass off for Bo and Finn and making sure they got everything they needed. But the thought of getting up and having a shower was so overwhelming. I was there, things were just mounting up, and we had put in, appeals first after the rejection, because they put the wrong paperwork in. We'd put in an appeal, and then a review. No, we put in an appeal, and then we had to put in a review for the appeal because they sent out, again, the wrong paperwork. I mean, it's all in the NDIS file, blah, blah, blah. And then the saga with the occupational therapist with the capacity report this time, which took them a year. And, I've been through a couple of different support coordinators, and the next step now that we've just filed. So we filed the appeal, the review. I think it's a change of circumstance. They keep changing the words that you're allowed to use. But it's cost me thousands. I mean, literally, I am thousands of dollars out of pocket. Because each time they refuse to take the same reports as last time. They want new reports with new evidence, with today's date on it, not last year's date, or not the date from when he was diagnosed or when he last saw it. They want brand new ones. So I am thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket. And I was declining so badly that my body started actually giving up before I realized what was happening. So as you know, in January, I got tonsillitis. In January, I got tonsillitis twice, pharyngitis, then the chicken pox. I mean, my body was just screaming, you can't do this anymore. No human can do this anymore. On top of that, about 7 years ago, I think about 7 years ago, I have lost a lot of time, but I suffer from severe PTSD. Everybody, all my friends who know me, including the kids, they know what you can and can't do around mum. But I suffer from very severe PTSD from, basically, I was in St Kilda one night. I don't know, it was about 10 o'clock. I got in the car to come home, and a complete stranger, very large, tall black man, just opened the passenger door, got in next to me, said something along the lines of, I've been waiting for you all night, jumped over across, grabbed the seat release bar, for which I flipped back so fast I actually ended up with whiplash the next day. Yeah, and well, you can take it from there. It ended up in court. I'd never seen him before. They didn't catch him, but what an amazing system we have. If you're a victim of crime, you still have to go to court and prove that you're innocent. I don't know. I blame the women and men who abuse the system, and there are men out there and women that do that. They break up with a partner and then they say that they were raped by them or something like that, and they're just trying to get back at their ex or something, you know, and it's disgusting, but there are disgusting people out there. So anyway, so my PTSD specifically pertains to getting a surprise. If someone walks too close to my car, if I sit in a restaurant, I have to have my back to the corner. If someone walked in right now without me expecting, I have to know if someone's coming over. You can't just let yourself into my house. If a knock on the door happened right now, I would jump right out. Now, you have to understand, when I say this, you really need to understand, I am actually amazing compared to, say, 5-6 years ago. 5-6 years ago, if I just heard a voice out the front of my house, this did actually happen, I ended up stuck for 3 days on the stairs. And the reason it was the stairs was because one went, you would go, you go upstairs and then you got this little platform and then you can go up the next. So you sort of turn around like that. And it was the only place that I could sit with my back to the wall and I could see absolutely everything happening. I had my meals there. I could not. My mother had to talk me down. She's a therapist. She's not in sexual assault, but she talked me out after a couple of days. So the fact that now I give a little jump or often a yelp, quite often a yelp, if I'm not expecting someone to be home and I don't hear them come in and they come into my room or they come upstairs or I run into them, people will not understand it. They think that you can control it, but you can't, okay? You just can't. I see it's them. I know it's them. I know I'm okay, but I scream or I jump, but I can't. It's completely instinctual. I cannot control it. Anyway, recently I've really been trying to reduce my triggers, right? Because it's getting annoying, actually, more probably for other people than it is for me, although it would be really nice to be able to, like, all my friends are amazing with it. They're amazing with it. They know that they walk me to the car. Whenever we go out, they'll walk me to the car. They'll never, ever leave me. They know that if we are at a restaurant, even Finn says it, like, I went out the other day with him and his girlfriend and we went to have something to eat and there was a bench along the back and usually they lie all over each other and he was like, no, mum needs to sit there, And they're just tactics that I've gained, which are probably, it's compounded. I know that when I went to court about what happened in the car, that brought up for me the abduction and the childhood abuse. So all that stuff I'd buried really came back and I think it all compounded. So I started new therapy, EMDR, which is supposed to specifically reduce triggers for trauma, for PTSD and trauma. It's very specific. And I'm trying to do all of this while I am trying to give Finn everything he needs to be a normal kid. Give Bo everything he needs to be a normal kid. Dealing with the NDIS, which I have to say has probably pushed me over the edge on a mental capacity. Then just recently as most of you know, I've had an issue with I don't think I've ever said that it was cervical cancer, but there you go. I'm being out and honest. I may as well just put it all out there. And every year, like, you know, I was in remission for nearly 20 years, actually. Started when I was 20. And for 20 years, everything was fine. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, it came back, and we can't, no matter what we do, every year, biopsies and colposcopies, and it's just, I don't know, for some reason, it's back with a vengeance. So, last week, the last 2 weeks before I went into hospital, I went to see my GP to get on, medications for Bose melatonin, all of that sort of stuff. Also the chicken pox, which I turned up 24 hours early for. Just shows you the state of mind that I'm in. And I also had I've been having a huge amount of pain. I've been living with chronic pain for a really long time. I actually fractured my neck when I used to be a professional skier in France. And I was 20, so I really didn't care, none of us do. But I started getting pins and needles down my arm, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And I kind of ignored it. And Richard, I mentioned it to him in passing, and he was like, dude, that's pins and needles in your arm. You can't ignore that. And I was like, oh, can't I? I mean, it's clearly not a heart attack, it wasn't like, it's just like, I'm started getting pins and needles in these sort of 3. And first it was once every couple of nights, and then it sort of got more and more and more. Anyway, I ended up getting sent for an MRI, which, can't find my glasses, good, which has shown some not good stuff. So I'm booked in for, as I mentioned before I went in, I think I mentioned on the day that I was actually going in that I'd had some news about having to see a neurosurgeon in April. Basically, the conclusion is multi-level spondylosis resulting in moderate to severe multi-level neural forminal stenosis, as described. Basically, what that means is that I've also got some bulging discs and crap that I don't really care about, that doesn't require neurosurgery or injections directly into the spine and things like that. But ultimately, what spondylosis and stenosis means is that I'm basically strangling my own spinal cord, which is why I'm getting the pins and needles. And I'm only 45, so I still have another 45 years that I need my spine and my spinal cord, and I'm pretty scared about that. So the area also that is a problem is specifically where I damaged my neck, which is C. So they rate it as mild, moderate, severe. So I'm severe in C3, 4, and 5. That's if you screw up surgery or spinal stuff, 3, 4, and 5, or if you break your neck, 3, 4, and 5, more 3, 2 and 3 is, but 2, 3, 4, we're talking full paraplegia, arms, legs, everything gone. So then Bo has been coming home really struggling with year 11. And I've been doing everything I can to help him. And but I found that I didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me to get up. I didn't have it in me to eat. I didn't have it in me to shower. I didn't have it in me to go out. I didn't have it in me to, even my body was physically shutting down. I just could not go any longer. And I went to see the doctor, and boom, surprise. So Sunday was a very surprise. It was only supposed to be for a few days. And I got admitted into the Victoria Clinic. As a lot of you saw, very nice room, but not a very nice place to be. Now I want to address what happened in there. So I saw a psychiatrist because I've obviously been having a lot of therapy and psychology and whatnot for a long time. And I'm pretty angry, actually, at the way things went. The first day I was in there, he just started asking questions, and he just wanted yes or no answers. And I don't feel that in psychology that you can give a yes or no answer to have you had suicidal thoughts. So 15 years ago, when Finn was 6 months old and Beau was a 3-year-old non-verbal toddler and only going to Southern Autistic School 3 days a week, and I was completely on my own. I remember one day driving and thinking, if I just drove off the road, like if I was going to do it, I'd take the kids with me. I couldn't trust anyone. I didn't feel I could trust anyone to look after the kids. If I was going to go, I was going to take them with me, and that's the way it would be. Right? So, I was like, have I had suicidal thoughts? Well, I mean, technically that constitutes as a suicidal thought. But, that was once 15 years ago. No, I don't want to hear it. Don't, just yes or no. So you have, because I said, but I don't think, so you have. Well, yes, why? Okay, tick, yes. All right, have you felt depressed? Yes. Have you felt elevated? Well, when I'm not depressed, I feel elevated. Yes, I feel, yes, I'm not always one mood only or constantly depressed. So yes, my moods do fluctuate. Anyway, it was like going 2 hours in the ring with Muhammad Ali. Afterwards, I felt, it was horrific. It was one of the most horrific experiences I'd ever had. And to have someone ask these questions, and I actually went specifically through the PTSD that I have, because the night before, when I had been admitted and I hadn't seen him till the next day, in the psychiatric hospitals, they check every hour throughout the night. They open their door, they check. And by the morning, because someone was opening my door every hour, I was jumping out of my skin. So I was freaking out. And I was really clear with him about, my PTSD, and we talked, so, which a lot of people actually did in there, and put like a towel over the door at night, which means you can't shut or lock your door at night, but at least you don't hear the nurse coming in. You get in there, they go through everything. They take your tweezers. I couldn't have this. They took this because it's my nail polish. They took that because it's in a glass bottle. You can't have aerosol. You have to go up and ask for your deodorant. They take at night, they take all your cables for your phone and anything, I don't know, just anything longer than this, which is what I ended up getting. attached to a battery pack because you're going to kill yourself with it, right? Anyway, throughout my week, I was supposed to, I didn't sleep. I wasn't conducive of a relaxing time. They trialed a few medications on me, which I'm very thankful for. First one did not work at all, which is really annoying because if the first one had worked, I would have been out of there faster. But by Friday, having had no sleep, and my psychiatrist had taken the day off. So on Thursday, when I expected to be released on Friday, because we'd kind of found the medication that was sort of working, and I was doing well, except for sleep. He popped his head in on Thursday and said, all right, well, I'm not in tomorrow, so I'll see you on Monday. And I was like, whoa, 1 second, hold on. I got kids at home. I got things that need to be done. Like, you can't just take the day off on Friday to go golfing and leave me in here over a weekend for you to come back and we'll just reassess how, like, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday went with no progress, no one to talk to, no one to sort of say, this is working, but I feel like if we increase that, you're like, I wouldn't mind if someone was there to actually get progress done. That was what I was there for. I needed help. And I freaked out. And on Friday, I had a full psychotic break. I feel so bad for the registrar. So a registrar is basically a guy who's pretty much finished university and is doing, I guess, like work experience, but qualified work experience. And he was working with my psychiatrist. But he's not capable of doing anything. He can't, he's not actually qualified. And I lost my shit and I dragged what looked like to be, 27-year-old boy into my room. And I said to him, you get on the phone to the psychiatrist and you either discharge me tonight with a whole bag of pills or whatever it is you want me to take and do, whatever, I will do it. And I will even come back here on Monday morning and lie in this very bed for him to stick his head in and say, oh, how did the weekend go? But if I have to stay in here one more night with no sleep, because I cannot sleep for numerous reasons, no matter what drugs they gave me. Part of the reason that I was in there also was because regular drugs don't work on me. I don't have, for some reason, my body doesn't metabolize drugs. So I can't just take Valium because it doesn't do anything. I can have 4 and be riding my bike down the road at 3 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't, I biologically do not respond to medication the way other people do. To fix the pain in my back and neck, I'm on 4 to 6 Panadeine Forte just to take the edge off. If Zopiclone, which I was on for a long time, about 8 years, which I only just stopped taking because I really wanted to try and fix my own sleep, and that was before I went in there. Probably another reason I went completely mad and ended up in a psychiatric hospital. But most people that I know, so Zopiclone's street name is Imrest. People might know it as Imrest. It's a very intense, like my GP and I have been through all of the, we tried the usual low level temazepam, this, that, and the other, all that. And, you may as well have been giving me sugar pills. So most people will take half, maybe one. It takes me 3 Zopiclone to finally get off to sleep. And so being in a hospital with a psychiatrist who's capable of doing actual medical tests and how they respond and upping and downing dosages and things to try and work out why we've had such trouble, my GP and I with because I initially saw her many years ago to get anxiety medication and stuff like that. Now, very quickly, I'm just going to address all of you people out there that, regardless of me saying this or not, are going to do it anyway. Yes, I have tried meditation. Yes, I have tried deep breathing. Yes, I have tried lavender. Yes, I have done everything, okay, that, I have tried all of the alternative. Yes, I've done hemp oil. Please, guys, this isn't about you trying to fix me or suggest what is right for me. This is me telling you, okay, so that there are some people out there who can say, oh my God, it's not just me, okay? So one of the things that really pissed me off while I was in there, other than my psychiatrist just leaving, was that on Monday, when I was hoping to be discharged, the registrar and the psychiatrist walked into my room. Now, normally the meetings were, like, whenever I had a meeting, I was already up because I hadn't slept anyway, and we would go into sort of one of the interview rooms or whatever. And they both walked into my room and they closed the door behind them and started walking at me. And I started backing up. Like, that scared the shit out of me. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. And the psychiatrist just went, why are you backing up? What's wrong? And I went, like, are you a psychiatrist or what? I said, 2 men have just entered my room, closed the door, and they're both walking towards me. Seems like a pretty rational thing to do. Like, PTSD or no, that seems rational to me. The nurse, so they went, okay. Which I just think is so unsympathetic and so, I don't know if their sympathy chip is just blown. And the new kids can't have. Shit, he's not even fully qualified yet. I just don't understand what psychiatrist who knows your file and knows your history wouldn't, take that into account. During the week, that every time there was a nurse changeover, they would come in and say, hi, introduce themselves, I'm on tonight, or, I'm on today, blah, blah, blah. Most of them, I've got to say, the nursing staff, except for Nurse Ratchet, and they all know who I was talking about, except for Nurse Ratchet, one woman who was only on twice in the entire time I was there, so I barely saw her. I didn't come out of my room for 90% of the time, so they were gorgeous. The nurses were gorgeous, except this one woman. So she comes in and she sits down in my room, just like the other nurses, and she says, they check in, they do a check-in. They're like, hi, how you going? Now, at this stage, I think it was the Thursday that he had said he wasn't going to be in, and I was feeling pretty vulnerable and upset and very trapped. It may as well have been Shawshank Redemption, honestly. When you think you're getting out and then you realize it's beyond your control and you're not allowed out, and I've been micromanaging every day for the last 17 years since Beau was born, so to be completely out of control is really, it's really distressing. Anyway, So I said, well, I'm feeling a little, I got a bit better sleep last night. I think I'd had 2 hours, which was really great for me. And I said, I usually tell them, why I was in there. And she said, shall I tell you what I know about you? And I went, yeah, do that. And she opened up this file. Right. So you're depressed, you're suicidal, right. And I just went, whoa, hold on one second. I said, are you sure that's my file? And she looked and she said, oh, sorry. I can't remember the word. It's not eidetic. It's it's like you associated, like you've thoughts, and I can't remember the word they use because eidetic is always stuck in my head. Sounds very much like eidetic anyway. So, sorry, you're not suicidal. You have suicidal thoughts. I said, once, 15 years ago. Are you serious? That's what's written down in my file. And I said, depressed. I'm a woman on the edge. I have been fighting my goddamn ass off for someone, every system, every time it changes, every school, every person, everyone in my family, because they don't know what it's like to have a kid with autism, and they can't understand why I don't own a sports car because I'm spending 50 grand a year on therapies. How can you have a file there that says I'm suicidal and depressed? Because have you felt depression over the last? Yes, of course. Who hasn't? Have you had a suicide? It just rubbed me really the wrong way. So I was really angry that that's the information that's getting handed over. This is just from the file. This is just from the handover. I haven't had a good look. I'm like, you've had a good enough look to make a decision about me that I'm clearly suicidal, which I'm not. My God, all I want to do is go home and be with my kids. This is the hardest time ever. I just want to live my life with my kids. I just want to be able to get up in the morning and actually do it. I want to have a shower, and I want to feel like I can take on this tribunal thing with the NDIS. I just need something to help me actually keep fighting, because I've been doing it for 17 years and I'm at breaking point. So she left very quickly. And then on Tuesday, on the day of my discharge, I was taken up into my psychiatrist's office. So we went from my room into the lift. And when you're in a lift, you're standing there, right? People, that's what they do. You just stand there and you just wait. I don't know what he did. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. But he kind of jerked. Don't know if like a pager or something happened. I really don't know why he did it, but he kind of just jerked around. And my PTSD triggered, and I jumped back. And he said to me, and he looked me straight in the eyes, this is a psychiatrist, and he said, are people surprised by the energy you have? And I said, actually, no, most people who know me aren't surprised at all by the energy I have. And he said, you remind me of one of those TikTok videos or YouTube videos of where the cats are like, you put a cucumber down on the cats and they just jump all of a sudden. I said, dude, I don't think I said dude. I said, I have PTSD, diagnosed, victims of crime, full PTSD. How dare you compare me to just some hyperactive cat that gets a fright on fucking TikTok? Sorry. Anyway, he almost didn't release me because I hadn't been sleeping, and he didn't want me to go home because I hadn't been sleeping. And he said he doesn't usually let people go home who haven't been sleeping. I said, well, I haven't slept in the last, Bo didn't sleep for the first 8 years until we got him on melatonin, and I haven't slept then. I said, so unless you're going to keep me in for the next 8 years, I highly suggest you let me go. Not that they couldn't. I could have self-discharged, against doctors, whatever. But then that would have forfeited all the work and the reason that I was in there. So, he said, all right, well, he said, but I do want you to see an ENT. The whole reason part of the reason he thinks I'm not sleeping, which I don't think is the reason. When I was about 2 years old, my sister broke my nose, and I've never, I just don't have one nostril. I cannot breathe through one nostril at all. And he said, well, that'll be affecting your sleep. And I said, well, I've never known any difference, and I got this, And he said, well, you're saying, it's no big deal, but you don't know because you've never been able to breathe. So I rang my mum and I was like, hey, Mum, when my sister broke my nose? And she was like, oh, yeah. And I said, so what hospital did I go to? Because this doctor's saying it's actually a serious problem. And if they didn't pick it up as a serious problem, maybe we should go back to the same people and go, hey, guys, that should have been fixed. And she said, oh, we never took you to a hospital. And I was like, okay, what doctor? And she's like, oh, no. Eventually it just stopped bleeding and you stopped crying. And I said, so you left me with a broken nose and you never even took me to a doctor or anything? No, nothing. Right. So I have to go and see an ENT because apparently breathing is really important, especially for sleep. Having said that, I got home last night and I slept solidly for 7 hours, and it was the best thing on earth. So I guess you now truly know everything. And what I really want to point out from all of this, number one is none of us, and this Instagram perfect life that housewives of whatever country, I don't care who it's not real. It's not real. Don't subscribe to this idea that, I know that I've been raw and honest and I've told the truth all the way through, and I've said when I've struggled, and I've said, and I've had breakdowns. I've had breakdowns with snot pouring. I can't handle it. I can't keep going. I'm out of ideas. I don't know what to do. Guys, I feel that every day. Every day is a struggle. Today, I am working desperately on Beau, who is having massive issues with homework. I'm trying to work with the school. We're trying to work out a way that we can get him through year 11 and 12. As I said on the phone to the teacher this morning, this is me deciding this kid's rest of his life. Okay, so I'm not taking these decisions lightly. I'm not just coming in here and I'm going to pull him out of this and pull him out of that. I said, because I know what he wants to be and I know what he wants to do, and I believe in him and he can do it. And if it just means I have to work harder, then I will work harder to help him get through this. But this is why we end up in mental institutions, okay? Because we are the ones, the only ones doing this. And the NDIS is not helping. They are adding to the problem. And if I could sue them for gross negligence of not only, me and my son, but for pain and suffering, what they have put me through for the last 4 years. And please stop, because I've had a number of, like, I'm just going to preempt all of the rest of you who, just like you're all going to get onto your little, look, guys, I've got my crystals on, okay? So stop with the, take this herbal remedy, it helped me sleep. I don't want to hear it, all right? This is me telling you how things are for me. I've tried it. I've had 2 LACs. I have been through different management companies. I have tried self-management. I have tried companies. I've been through coming on to 3 support work coordinators. Look, I get that some of you just got through it breezy. I'm so glad for you, okay? I understand that some of you just got what you needed. Amazing. It comes not down to your LAC or your support coordinator. In the end, what it really comes down to is the one person, whoever that person is, that gets your file in front of them, that looks at it and says, okay, yes or no, right? And then it comes back. Now, from that point, that's when it's up to you and your coordinator and your LAC to sit down and write down and appeal and get more evidence and more. I couldn't keep going. And I couldn't keep going so alone. My father found out I was in hospital. I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to tell anyone. I was embarrassed. Oh my God. No one knew. You guys now know. There are very close friends and family who do not know this. And he was like, what's the problem? Why are you having such trouble with the NDIS? And I just went, are you kidding me? He's like, well, I'm just wondering why they're giving you such a hard time. And I said, have you read a newspaper? Have you looked at the news? Like, seriously, you can't. 2.5 hours I was on the phone to him explaining the NDIS, which I have to say, not only compounded the fact that I am so goddamn alone in this, but that I've been doing this for so long. Nobody gets it. We get it. You guys are the only ones that get it. This is why I am making this video, because I get it. And no one else out there is making a video saying this system, yes, okay, I've had my personal issues, right? Obviously. And the reason that I bring up my personal issues with the PTSD and all that sort of stuff is because we all have issues from our childhood, okay? We all have things, divorces, separations, siblings, whatever it happens to be, bad experiences at work. We're all carrying baggage, all right? So I don't want anybody to think, oh, well, this happened to me, so we're different. We're not different, okay? We're not. I'm messed up. I'm super messed up, and I have been going to weekly therapy for 17 years. You know it. I've taken you in there. But autism and being a full-time carer and mum and taking on the NDIS, as well as making sure that Finn gets everything he needs to have a life that he deserves, a normal life. I couldn't do it anymore. I needed help. And I highly suggest that if any of you are feeling the way I feel, that you recognize it and just do something about it. I mean, contact your GP. If you need to go into a psych ward for a week, and I know I can hear you all straight away, what would I do with my kid? I know, right? Like, that's the stupid thing. I mean, I know. I was really lucky. Richard stepped up in a way that, you know, he stayed here for the week. Lived here for the week looking after the boys so their routine wasn't disrupted. So maybe some of you have parents, maybe some of that would do that. Maybe some of you have brothers or sisters. I don't really have anyone in my family that could do that. Maybe you do. But I'm telling you, I'm in today, my first day. Yesterday I was home, obviously, but today is my first day, and I was up in the morning, and I am dressed, and I am showered, and I've gotten things done, and I if it hadn't have been for having a complete and utter mental breakdown, or at least recognizing that that's where I was heading with the stresses of life, and being so alone because, you know, we're not going out to friends' barbecues, are we? We're not invited anymore around to grand final day because our kids are different. You know, I lost most of my friends because Bo just didn't fit in. I didn't lose them. They didn't turn around and go, oh, your kid's weird. You know, it wasn't like that. It was, I just couldn't bring the kids. You know, so if I went alone, and you can't always do that. There's not always someone to leave them with. And Finn, you know, at this age, his job is not to be Bo's carer. So yeah, I am lonely, and I am at home. You know, COVID is no different for me. I'm lonely, and I'm at home, and I don't have a lot of friends, and I am fighting my ass off. I am literally bare knuckling it to get to the next step. And then while I was in hospital, as you know, boom, entire account emptied. Thank God I was in hospital when that happened. Thank God I was in hospital when that happened, which still hasn't been resolved, but I've been on the phone to them every single day. So yeah, all right. That is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I hope that my story, although exceptionally really hard to say, helps some of you not only not feel alone, but understand that your mental health, if you leave it too late, like I did, there is no coming back. There will be no coming back at some point. I just happened to lose my shit when I found out that I would have to have neurosurgery in April, do the cancer thing again in March, had chicken pox and everything, and I was just like, I didn't want to get up, didn't want to get out of my bed. I don't think I'd left the house, you know, in quite some time. Couldn't do the shopping. I just completely lost the will to live. And I don't mean live as in staying alive. I mean to live. What it means to live, to actually live and breathe and walk and look at the beautiful sky and, enjoy a cup of tea. That kind of live. I was never going to top myself, but I had no motivation, no reason, because it was just a fight. It was just a fight. And worse, it's not even a fight with someone like, your husband or your kids where you can get up and apologize. It's a fight with someone, with a department of different people who never back down, and health. And, it just... So there is my confession. I am just an everyday, regular, messed up human being like the rest of us. I've had some good times. I've had some bad times. I tell you the one thing, the only thing that I will say, is I do not regret 1 second that I have put in to Bo and Finn. I do not regret any of it. I would do it again. Even if I ended up in mental institution again, I would do it again, right? I don't regret going on camps to give Bo the experience so that he could do it, even if he couldn't stay. I don't regret going to all of the schools, primary schools, and sitting in class before we signed up to a school to find out whether that school was right for him or not, and actually being in that school and seeing what the teachers were like and what the classes were like and whether it suited him. I don't regret it. I don't regret 1 second of the time that I have fought for him. But the batteries need to be recharged. They needed to be recharged, and I needed some help. I really needed some help. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Some of us are stronger in some areas and others in other areas. And some people look at me and think I'm extremely strong. And those who know me, know that there are literally days and weeks where I'm so overwhelmed and defeated and hurt that I can't even have a shower. Sorry to disappoint if anybody thought that it was different. It's not. That's why it's called ASD rocks, guys, because sometimes the weight of the rocks are just unbearable. It's too heavy, and it got too heavy for me.